Hey everybody, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rachel, and this is Good Things to Watch with Joey and Rachel, a podcast with two pals who watch a lot of movies and TV. We'll be taking a deep dive into our favorite films and shows and sharing insights as to what you should be watching too.
Today, we'll be discussing the new savior of the Star Wars franchise, The Mandalorian, proving once and for all that television can tell just as good of a story as movies.
Just a word of warning, these episodes will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen these shows or movies, what are you waiting for? Go watch them and then come back.
Just want that Mandalorian music to pump in, the dum da da dum da da dum da da dum. But it's not for copyright issues. Rachel, oh my god.
Okay, so I have to
a lot of nagging.
What?
So tell me what you think. It took me a lot of nagging to get you to this point.
Okay, so here's the thing. When Disney Plus first came out and Mandalorian first came out, I really had a struggle with this because I wanted to watch Mandalorian. I will watch anything Star Wars, but I was really hesitant to get Disney Plus because a lot of their library we have on DVD already. So I didn't quite think it was a worthwhile investment, and I wanted to wait to see what kind of original content they would put on first. And then this year comes along, season 2 of Mandalorian comes along, and I'm just like, all these spoilers are starting to come out, and I can't take it anymore. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to get Disney Plus, and I'm going to watch it and let the chips fall where they may as far as original content, and I'm just going to soak this all in. So I spent some time recently during my vacation to binge it all.
And was I right?
You were right. You were so right.
Oh my God. Tell me more.
Oh my God. Instantly, first episode, 20 minutes in, we're like, this is it. Mm-hmm. We were like, why couldn't the last couple of movies do this? And it kind of like ticked us off too, because now like, hey, now Disney has proven that they can do this. So why didn't they take the same care with the last trilogy that they did with this? Because obviously they can do it. And Jon Favreau, he's the man. He is the man.
The real savior of the almost any movie franchise. Jon Favreau just comes in and just, what did he do? He made Iron Man, which started the Marvel universe. He basically rebooted the Star Wars universe with The Mandalorian. And he redid The Jungle Book and The Lion King. And there's one other major thing, and I'm totally forgetting about it, but that man is wonderful.
He is absolutely amazing, and he has saved Disney Star Wars in our eyes because we've felt very badly about it. In the past few years, we felt very badly about not liking the last couple of movies. So we're like, what does this mean to our childhood theme? We've always loved Star Wars, and to have Disney do what they did and now come out with this, it's like it's redemption. And now it's kind of like, okay, I will continue to watch what they're doing.
What's really interesting with this story too, and I think it's probably my favorite part about the whole thing, is it's like filling in holes from all the franchise, things from the prequels, sequels, and the OG originals. And it's giving you a different point of view. It's a big, and I think Star Wars is such a great place. And I started watching Clone Wars last year, kind of getting ready for the Rise of Skywalker, because I've heard it's great. But I've heard forever that Star Wars makes wonderful TV from Clone Wars and Rebels. And I started watching Rebels, and I'm almost done with it now. It's also great. But I really like how it just lets you explore more, and it's such a big universe. Why can't we have other characters aside from the Skywalkers? Like, I love that we have a completely different Mandalorian. I was worried when I started watching it, and because I watched the Clone Wars, I learned more about Mandalorians, because there's a lot of content about them in there, and that's where Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano comes from, is the Clone Wars. But I had it in my head that the start of the show was that oh, that's definitely just Boba Fett in there, and we're gonna learn that's Boba Fett eventually. And it wasn't. I was wrong, and I'm glad I was because Din Djarin is so cool, and I love him, and I love his armor, and I love that we're focusing on a Mandalorian and not a Jedi. I just thought that was really cool, and I love how the Jedi is so distant from his life that they're almost a myth.
Yeah, I'm loving the fact that this is allowing everything to stay within the Star Wars universe. Everything that was built is still there, but you're working within it and allowing yourselves to come up with completely new characters and new stories that fit within that entire framework and universe. And they've done an excellent job with it. They've had us hooked right away. And we love, of course, we love the whole Mandalorian thing. So to see another Mandalorian and to kind of get a peek into their creed and
Hmm.
see what this is all about and expand on that is just amazing.
So this is really interesting for me because I've been with the show for 2 years now, and I've been following along. You got to binge this whole thing. So tell me, what were some of your highlights? Like, I want to hear if you still felt like the major moments that everyone else felt when we first watched it.
Well, the minute that I mean, right away, like I said, we instantly loved it. Um, but as it starts going on, you start to get a peek of who the Mandalorian actually is. And the biggest moment for me was actually just a small moment is after he goes back and he gets the child. And and I keep telling everybody else because I think this is one of my favorite moments. And he just doesn't even just think about it. He just grabs the knob off of his lever and gives it to him.
Hmm.
That's just like it was just a touching moment because he knew the child loved that as like a stupid little toy.
Yeah,
And it was just kind of like his heart just like passing it on to the baby, and
yeah.
it was just like a really sweet touching moment.
I
Out of
love
all the things that he could give the child, he knows that knob is going to make him happy.
I
uh,
love that he's this cold father figure to this very powerful but also fragile thing. I feel like there's been stories like that with that kind of outline of like this protector and the child sort of thing. But I love that Star Wars took it on. I just think it's so cool. And I actually heard that Obi-Wan's show was supposed to be similar to that in a way, and that's kind of what put it on a little bit. Oh, we have to kind of rethink this, you know.
mhm.
But love little Baby Yoda, little Grogu. Um, the
Everything that he does is magic and is adorable.
He was
I
fantastic.
gotta tell you, one of my favorite moments also was him in that little classroom and that little kid not wanting to share his little blue cookies, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna have one anyway, and just takes the whole thing. And then of course he's still munching on them. The ship is going all nuts, and he just baby vomits the blue cookies. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just
yeah, that was really
it's
fun.
just touched with such humor and at the same time such action-packed adventure. It was a great combination.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of love in there. It's really cool that they're able to make a character. You don't see his face for most of the show, but he still conveys so much emotion, and he's great. Um, I really love the interweaving of the other characters. I know most people like this. I have family members and friends who are a little bit upset when you get too much of a good thing. But personally, for me, the second season, seeing all those like cool like cameos and characters show up was amazing. And Bo-Katan, she's played by the woman who voices the character in the Clone Wars Rebels, and she plays in real life. It's just so cool. Rosario Dawson was like this fan favorite for Ahsoka Tano for years, and they did it. They just gave it to it. And Bill Burr, you
Oh,
can
Bill
read
Burr.
too much of Bill Burr. That man is amazing, and not to mention he was hilarious. But the second season also his character actually had some real moments.
He did. Everybody has been amazing. I mean, and can we talk for a minute about Boba Fett?
Boba Fett.
You knew that was going to be a big thing for me, and to just the second I saw him turn around and he's in the cloak and whatever, I'm like, that's Boba Fett. That's Boba Fett. And then he comes in, he claims his armor, and I'm just like fangirling over here.
Yeah. I was thinking of you when I saw that episode. I was thinking of you more so like his like real come back to form episode on Titan or whatever planet that was when they're reaching out to a Jedi. It was like, man, what a comeback. It's like you never saw that character kill anybody, and then he's just massacring people in front of your, like, it was amazing.
And then Slave One comes in.
It was super
Slave
cool.
One. And then, of course, crying like a baby at the end.
Oh my God.
I mean, okay, I had seen the spoilers about Luke coming back.
Yeah.
I didn't know what capacity and what context, so I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
But I did not see any spoilers about R2. So I was shocked and just amazed and totally thrilled to see him come in.
Yeah.
And then to see that little cute moment between Grogu and R2, that was adorable.
Yeah.
Done so well. And of course, they ripped my heart out with the big goodbye.
Oh, man. Everything about that. I love the music they use. It's the same music that when he's looking at Frog Lady's eggs. And I think that's just another testament to the show itself, because it's like to not have John Williams anymore in a Star Wars role and to have a whole score of music that's just as good or kind of even a little better, because like, oh my God, it's new and they're letting it go a little bit. They're really exploring. But yeah, seeing him, that beautiful music playing in the background, touching Mando's face without the helmet and he just said the perfect thing. He said, "Don't be afraid," and it's all he had to hear. And just seeing him say goodbye and hoping to freaking God Kylo Ren doesn't kill him later.
No, they better protect that baby.
He's gonna be fine. I really believe like he'll plug in more stuff for us in the future. Like I think we're gonna probably see him again, or he'll probably have escaped from Luke's, or something like where he leaves Luke before that happens, or something like that. I don't believe he just dies. That would be kind of weird.
I don't think so too, especially since we know that his species has long lifespan. I mean, Yoda was what, 900 years old when he died. So this kid has a long way to go. But that said, I have to say that Frog Lady episode was hilarious. Just the moments between Grogu and Mando, where Mando leaves him with the Frog Lady and he says, be respectful. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
It was pretty awesome.
I know people are up in arms about him eating the unfertilized eggs and whatever, but it's just he's hilarious.
Like, how many eggs have you had in your lifetime?
Right. I mean, a lot of us eat unfertilized eggs all the time, so this was nothing different.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit much, considering it's like, I think we're really getting into this whole PETA, whatever you want to do thing. It's just like, these are space alien monsters that somebody made up. It's from somebody's head. It's like, come on.
Right. An animated character is eating not real unfertilized eggs. Let it go.
And it's a baby. It's like
yeah, exactly.
You're reaching for anything to complain about.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, overall, it's been fantastic. We've loved it. Like you said, Bill Burr is a dynamo. He's hilarious.
I think he's our Kathy Bates winner for the show.
I think so. I think you're right about that.
He's just that guy who you could put in anything, and you're like, he's great. I love Bill Burr. I think he's a great comedian, and I've heard him just like talking to, listen to his podcast a lot. Bill Burr's Thursday afternoon, Monday morning podcast. It's hilarious. He curses a lot, but you can tell he's just like a good guy, and I hope he is. You know, you never know with celebrities, and you hear horrible things now and then. But from what I see, he looks like he'd be a good guy, and I hope he is. You know who I
Yeah,
like in the show too? Cara Dune.
I like her. I
What
like her.
what a cool name that is too.
Isn't she like a former MMA fighter?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, so I'm sure, I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure that she can do her own stunts for the most part.
I
A lot
bet
of
you she
fighting.
does.
Yeah, she's great. So is Ming Na Wen.
Oh, she's great too.
Love her. I wasn't aware that she was Mulan until you pointed out to me. She voiced Mulan. I hadn't connected the two. I just knew her from Agents of Shield. I really like her. I love that she's with Boba Fett and she's going to be in this book of Boba Fett,
Yeah.
which I am just waiting for.
I really like the scene where they're storming Moff Gideon's um, ship in the last episode, and I love that it's all women. And it's in a universe where the only chick in the galaxy, as Peter Griffin once said, was Princess Leia, and what's her name from Return of the Jedi and Rogue One, and a little bit of Revenge of the Sith. Actually, the scenes might have been deleted.
Now, I do have to say that my one chief complaint with
Tell me,
Mandalorian
tell me.
and that whole women's group is I am not a fan of Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah. I have
That.
hmm? She's oh god, which character is she in Mandalorian? She's the main one of the blue helmet group.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Yeah, yes. I couldn't remember her name. I don't want to be mean here, but I've just never really enjoyed her work.
gotcha. I mean,
And I'm not saying that she was bad in this. I've never really enjoyed her work. So when I see her, I'm like cringy at first.
she's a little like in character, like very proudly in character. Like you tell she's happy to be there. I do think it worked for this though, because Star Wars is a little over the top anyway. So I thought it was fine, but interesting. I didn't realize, but I can respect that. Everyone's got their own taste.
Yeah, I just it started many years ago in when she was in a season of 24, and I really did not enjoy her performance then, and it kind of helped kill the season for me. So ever since then, I've kind of like avoided her work as much as possible, and maybe that's not fair. Sorry, Katie, but I just
Everyone has things like that though. Everyone's got. It's like what John Mayer said. Everyone's got an art pop. Talking about Lady Gaga's album.
but largely, yeah, everybody's been terrific, and I can't wait to see more of it. Even though it's going to be 2 years down the road now because they're sticking in Book of Boba Fett.
Well, I don't think it's gonna be 2 years. I think it's gonna come out in January. I think is what I've heard. So we have some time, but it's not gonna be quite as long. I don't think, because then we're also getting all these other Star Wars amazing things that are coming out. Which
That's true. So there's going to be enough to kind of fill the spaces.
yeah, and I think we're gonna also. I know I've heard some people like they say it's a bit too much, and there are one or two things from like I don't know if we need this, but I'm excited for a Patty Jenkins directed Star Wars movie. Super cool. I still have to see Wonder Woman 1984, but it's 1984, so I'm sure I'm gonna love it. But I'm excited for the Acolyte. I don't think we need a Lando Calrissian show. I don't know. It kind of bugs me.
I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about that. Do we need it? No, but it kind of is it nice to kind of have that story so you can tie in that more of it. I mean, I think we got enough of that history in Solo, but maybe there's more to discover and more that fans would appreciate in Lando's story. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Lando's never been a favorite of mine, and I guess I just kind of got burnt by him betraying everybody in that first time you ever see him. First impressions are everything.
Right.
But totally excited for Ahsoka. I think like almost kind of like about time, because the character is so loved in both Clone Wars and Rebels. So it's kind of like, and she's still left up in the air of what happened with her and kind of like where she is, and even in the Mandalorian. But I loved when they showed her and the white lightsabers, and she was almost like a ghost out there. The way they filmed that was beautiful, and I think that was just one of the best episodes of like TV in a long time for me. I just thought like the Western versus the like the samurai type of storytelling between Ahsoka and Mando. Seeing Michael Biehn again. It was just a beautiful scenery, like really incredible episode. I was blown away by that.
They did that so well, and you're right. Rosario she's killing it.
Killed it.
Better than I could have imagined. And I'm not too up on the history of Ahsoka, but I will now because I am even more invested in that character. But that was done so well. That was a beautiful episode.
I just loved how she felt like a ghost, and I think that's something they try to do with her in the Rebels show. And I'm like I said, I'm almost through it, but she's in the beginning of it a bit, and I feel like she's going to come back in at the end. She's been kind of missing for a while, but I think because she's not a Jedi, she leaves the Jedi Order before it falls, so she doesn't consider herself a Jedi anymore.
Okay.
But she kind of got like this ghostly thing about her, and I think she's just super cool.
I think, and I know you just said that she doesn't consider herself a Jedi, but Jedi at this point do have to be ghosts in order to survive.
Mm-hmm. And I think we should talk about this too. Luke's entrance and how incredibly epic it was to see Luke in his prime and wielding a green lightsaber, which was a big thing that bugged me in the sequel trilogy, because his green lightsaber is just gone and nobody knows what happened to it, and they don't mention it. And Rey even loses Anakin's, but then they get it back, and I don't know. That always bugged me that you don't see Luke's green saber except for a tiny bit in The Last Jedi. But it was so cool to see, and that was kind of like when you knew it was him, because it could have been him, it could have been Ezra Bridger from Rebels, and it could have been Cal Kestis from the new video game, who's played by Cameron Mahanigan, the redhead. I thought it wasn't going to be Luke. I thought that would be a little bit too close to the main story, but when you see his glove and you see and how, I think when he opens those doors and he's slicing through them like Vader sliced through those guys in Rogue One, almost exactly the same form, was just incredible.
Right. I mean, the first hint though is like in the very background, you see the X-wing coming in, and at that point we're like, oh, S word, because we swore a few times during that episode. But that was like, oh my god, and then of course you see him, and like I said, R2, we weren't expecting that at all, so we were just very, very fangirl and boying over here.
How great was the scene though? He's just like ripping through them, and it's so
amazing.
He can be so good with it. And also, I think what's cool about Vader's scene is like you see Vader really cut loose in Rogue One, and you never see that really because they didn't have the technology when they first made the movies. But what's cool, what they did different with Luke is because he's not a robot, half robot like Vader is, it feels so organic and it's more graceful. And Vader's almost had like a tiny robotic feel to it. It was just so cool. They really thought about it. CGI wasn't the best, but oh my god, will we all get over that? I'm almost kind of like, I almost welcome it in Star Wars now, because I'm like, let it be. They're just trying to put the story together for you. They're just trying to make it happen.
I do, because it's natural now, but I mean the whole problem was them putting CGI in movies that were already out, going back and fixing quote unquote, these films with CGI. I don't mind them in the newer movies because that allows for more things to happen. But what I love about this series is that they really, really focused on, it's like they looked at what fans wanted and looked at our hearts when it comes to Star Wars and really tried to fulfill those wishes and do it in an honest way, in an organic way, that fits in with the story.
Yeah.
Whereas the last couple of entries really were what the director wanted to do and what the director wanted to fit in. And this is such a diverse cast and in such an organic way. I love it. It really speaks to everything that fans want, in my opinion.
And there's
In a
great
show.
characters. There's such great characters in it throughout the whole thing. The guy who helps him in the beginning, who's like, I've spoken, he is great.
Yes.
Like we've talked a lot about a lot of people from the second season showing up, but um, Timothy Oliphant in the beginning, who
Hmm.
get he's a character from a novelization, and a lot of people were very excited to see him in it. I forget his name though. He was cool to see though. I really enjoyed him. The Crate Dragon was so cool, and nothing.
Oh,
It
it's
didn't really progressed the story. I think people get a little antsy about that sometimes. It's like oh, it's like an adventure of the week thing. It's like that's what it always was. And if you're complaining about that, then you maybe shouldn't be watching it, because that's exactly what this is. Um,
right.
but really just love the characters. It makes so many people memorable, and I like that builds a lot of women into the show. Like even that comedian woman on Tatooine who's always helping him with the ship.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. She's
she's
a
great.
great character.
Yeah, she's great, and I just like how it's they really just expanded this world. It just feels like fuller, and it's so cool to see such great CGI. And like in the episode of Bo-Katan when the ship is falling from the sky, I mean, oh my God, how could we're seeing this on TV and it looks just as good, if not better, than any of the Star Wars movies that's come out.
And I love that we've also seen a lot of character development in Mando. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he starts off as this very Creed guild Mandalorian to the core. And then you start to see him slowly. I mean, he hates droids. And then towards the end, you're seeing him, okay, well, you can let the droids work on the ship. That's okay.
Yeah,
Falling in love with this kid that he's with, you know, completely taking on the dad role when Mandalorians are so very, I mean, they're for the guild, but they're very silo-y.
something I really think is super cool about the show too is the directors that they pick for each episode, because it's like I think it's a lot of John Favreau picking people he likes, but Dave Filoni, who wrote a lot of Clone Wars and Rebels, or I think did write pretty much all of it. He directed a lot of episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and for me that's such a dear story to my life. I just love that series so much. But Bryce Dallas Howard, I think Ron Howard might have. No, Ron Howard directed Solo. I don't know if he directed any episodes, but my point is, it's like some huge Hollywood names coming in to direct these episodes, and I just think it's so neat. And they're all like on board with the story. It's not J.J. Abrams versus Ryan Johnson anymore. I think that's like the worst thing about it is that we all saw the fight taking place between directors with those movies. We didn't see the movies.
Right. Yes, I think you're absolutely right about that. That's actually a good point. And it just completely wasn't for the fans.
J.J. Abrams, and I stand by that because I know The Last Jedi. I disagree with not everything, but I disagree with a lot with what Ryan Johnson did. But J.J. Abrams he should have been more mature than he was with the response. Responding to immaturity with immaturity does not equal a good product. It ended us up with like, okay, well, I guess that's it. But luckily,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what they don't realize and what they should realize is that you're taking a product that fans like me or even my husband have had most of their lives. Star Wars has been a part of our lives since we were children. And you're taking something that means a lot to us and you're messing with it without a care in the world.
yeah.
Like I know we've talked about this in Cobra Kai a lot. The creators of Cobra Kai really, really they took a deep dive into that history and they pulled everything out and they show the fans what they want and they do everything from the heart. It's not even just about what the fans want. They do everything that serves the story properly and respects the history, and they really care, and it truly shows that they have a lot invested into the history of Karate Kid. And that's what I feel that Mandalorian does. They really, really speak to the history of Star Wars while creating something new, and they respect the history. unlike with the movies.
I've been seeing a lot of memes lately of like J.J. Abrams saying like you can't make these new movies for a younger audience and please the old fans, and then it's like Jon Favreau like hold my beer, and or hold my beer.
That's great.
And it's true because I just think Jon Favreau is such a fascinating. He reminds me of like Nancy Meyers in a way. I have like a thing for Nancy Meyers and her like home aesthetic, like really feeling like welcome into the movies. Because I know it's like the whole thing, it's like real estate porn, but it's like it does invite you in. And he, especially with this movie Chef, reminds me of that. Like something about Chef, The Mandalorian, anything he's made, I feel very pulled into. Like you're having a good time with these characters that are in it, you know. And I just feel like he invites you to his Lego playland or something like that, and you get to just live these cool fantasies where people make iron suits and learn how to fly and start superhero teams, and there's stories in the Star Wars saga that we didn't even know about it that we love more than most of the sequels that have been put out. It's just crazy to me.
I'd say one of my favorite things that Jon Favreau has done is years and years ago he had a show. It was called, I think, Dinner for Five,
Mm-hmm.
and it was him and like four other like directors, actors, and whatever, and they would sit there and they fully fleshed out and talk about movies, and it sounded like they were all having a great time. And they would go from the meal from appetizer to dessert and drinks and just sit there and talk, and I love that so much. So I really miss that. So I wish he'd do it again.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, but that really kind of like lets you into finding out who Jon Favreau was and how he related to everybody, and good stuff.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and I think we're only going to get more and more great stuff from him. I hope we do see more one-off things like Chef, because it's on Netflix now, and I bugged you to watch that one, right? Have you ever seen it?
No, I don't think so.
So it's just called Chef. It's him. I'm 99% sure he directed it too. Sofia Vergara, Scarlett Johansson, bunch of and the guy who plays Sid in Ice Age, and he's in a bunch of movies.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's in it. And basically, he works at this high-end restaurant. He loses his job for one reason or another, and it's kind of about him rebuilding his brand and re-falling in love with what he loves to do, and that's cooking. And he gets his food truck in Miami with his wife, and it's all about how he drives it back from Miami to LA with his son, and he's just kind of finding himself again. And it's just like it's food. It's very happy. It's very bright. It's a road trip movie. It's just like it's so much goodness in one movie, and I think you'd really love it, especially right now with how cold it is and it being winter time. It's a really great watch, and it's Jon Favreau. If you're looking for any more Jon Favreau content, it's like the most normal Jon Favreau you'll ever get, because it's the most like human stories ever probably put together.
Okay.
But excellent movie. If you guys are looking for it, it's on Netflix and it's wonderful, and I love it. Chef, that's my plug.
Netflix and Disney Plus have been my best friends over my vacation.
Oh yeah. You'll find once you're in it, like, oh look, I didn't realize this was on there too. I guess I'll watch that. Why not? And it's just good for stuff like that. I'm getting frustrated with all the streaming services though. I'm waiting for some major corporation to come bundle them all together for one price, and it's like, well, that sounds a lot like cable.
Right, a little too much like cable. But I get your general point though. I mean, it would be convenient if that were to happen.
I don't want it to happen because that is cable, and that would
Yes.
just defeating the purpose. But man, I gotta say, I just love this show. I'm so happy with it. I'm so excited for the expanded Star Wars universe, and I just think overall, just an entire accomplishment. The art, the music, the costumes, the acting, the Mandalorian. It's so cool, and it's so cool to see another side of the Star Wars universe, because Mandalorians are always there, and I guess it's fun to see it on this end and get a full fleshed out story. But I guess that's my whole overall gist. What are your final thoughts on the Mandalorian?
I loved it so much. I think, in the next few months, we're probably going to just do a rewatch anyway, just for fun. And of course, we're going to want to rewatch it again before another season starts and before the book of Boba Fett starts. I'm really, really, um, even though we were kind of hesitant to get into this, I'm really, really looking forward to what's coming next. And I didn't think that I would say this at the beginning of The Mandalorian, but I'm saying it now. I put my full trust in Jon Favreau and know that whatever happens is going to be good.
This is the way, Rachel.
This is the way. I have spoken.
You have. You have. Let's close this baby out. Do you want to take it?
Sure. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like what you heard here today, give us a big thumbs up. Join in on the discussion by leaving a comment. And while you're at it, to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any new episodes. Any last words, Joey?
I think that's all I can say. We talked about Cobra Kai. We talked about The Mandalorian. It's a good world we're living in today.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.